and I'll take it back to the judge. Judge, would you like me to take a roll call, or are you okay with doing it that?
Can you take a roll call just to be sure?
Sure, of course. Okay. So we'll start with Maria Serpa,
Here.
Debbie Viel,
Here.
Shara Butler,
Here.
Ricardo Sanchez,
Here.
Jason Wise,
I'm here, Sung.
and I am here. All yours, Judge. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, then going back in alphabetical order, if the parties are ready on the Abolarar matter. I believe I saw the petitioner before, and I see Mr. Weinberg getting ready. Mr. Pyun, are you ready to proceed on that matter?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, yes, Mr. Pyun. All right, so then let's go on the record. And I'm calling the matter of the petition for reinstatement of Muhammad Ali Abolarar. This is before the Board of Pharmacy, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. This bears OAH case number 2021-060385. Today is June 17th, 2021. It is 11:13 a.m. This matter is being heard by a quorum of the Board of Pharmacy. My name is Eric Sawyer, Administrative Law Judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings. I work in the Los Angeles office. This matter is being conducted by video conference and telephonic conference in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. At this time, I'll ask the parties to identify themselves for the record, beginning with petitioner.
I'm the petitioner, Muhammad Ali Abolarar.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
And counsel?
Yeah, my name is Herbert Weinberg. I'm of the Fenton Law Group, and I represent the petitioner, who is an old friend of mine.
Okay, good morning. And representing the Attorney General?
Good morning, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Steve Pyun here on behalf of the people of the state of California.
Okay, good morning. All right, Mr. Pyun, you can identify the petition and items and then make your overview opening comments.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This is Board Member Veal. I just have a question. I believe you said we had a quorum, and President O, do we have a quorum or are we a committee?
We do not have a quorum, and we're on committee. Thank you, Debbie, for clarifying.
Okay, that's right. As mentioned in the prior hearing, under a provision of the Business and Professions Code, I believe counsel identified that. If she could rejoin us and re-identify that provision.
Or I know it, Your Honor. Oh.
Oh.
Sorry, it is Business and Profession Code, section 4309, subsection C.
4309, subdivision
C, as in cat.
C. Okay. Okay, Mr. Pyun, did you want to say anything on this?
Oh, yeah, by way of opening, Your Honor?
The issue about the board sitting as a committee on this matter?
No, I was just going to volunteer the statute because I remembered it from when Ms. Smiley said it before.
Okay. All right. Mr. Weinberg, do you want to be heard on that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Then you can proceed with the opening overview.
Thank you, Your Honor. And this is a petition for reinstatement. The petitioner's pharmacist license was revoked by a default decision back in 2007 that was the result of an accusation filed based on a criminal conviction that was substantially related to the qualifications, duties, and functions of a licensed pharmacist. The conviction was for 1 count of conspiracy and multiple counts of healthcare fraud. While working as a licensed pharmacist, the petitioner made fraudulent healthcare insurance claims and I believe recovered approximately, well, more than $200,000 in payouts from both state and federal healthcare. This happened over the course of approximately 3 years, 1997 to 2000.
I'm sorry, your voice is cutting out. Can you repeat that?
Yes, and I apologize. That's not my connection. Can you hear me now, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay. Should I start from the beginning or?
How about the last 2 sentences?
Sure. The petitioner's conviction arose from fraudulent healthcare claims, and he obtained more than $200,000 in payouts from fraudulent claims to state and federal healthcare benefit programs. This took place in the years of 1997 to 2000. As a result of the conviction, the petitioner served 40 months in federal prison. He also paid full restitution and fines in the amount of approximately $400,000. He has submitted CE certificates totaling 45 hours from July 2019 through April 2021. He has also submitted 4 letters of recommendation, of which, at least as recently as the board's memorandum, the memorandum to the board, only 1 of which was verified. That's all I have by way of description of the case, Your Honor. I'd like to at this time just identify the documents that were filed electronically by my office with the request to set, and that would be the notice of hearing, letter to petitioner, the agreement to electronic recording, and then the petition and all the supporting documents. I'd ask that all those documents collectively filed be marked and admitted into evidence as Exhibit 1.
All right, those items are collectively marked as Exhibit 1. Mr. Weinberg, any objection to admitting that?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Weinberg, then you may make an opening statement if you wish, and then begin presenting your case.
I'll reserve my statement for closing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. How would you like to proceed with your case?
Is Mr. Pion through with the?
Yes.
Yes, okay. In that case, Your Honor, Executive Officer Sodergren, if you're here, and members of the Board of Pharmacy, and Mr. Pion, good morning. Permit me to introduce to you my friend, Petitioner Dr. Muhammad Ali Abolahrar, who will take the stand virtually and to be sworn in.
Okay, I will swear him in. So please raise your right hand and tell me when you have.
I have raised my hand.
All right, do you, there you are, I see you on video now, okay. Do you swear under under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California, or do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California, that in this hearing you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. And for the record, please state and spell your name.
First name is spelled Muhammad Ali, Mohammadali, and last name is spelled Abolahrar.
Thank you. When you're ready, Mr. Weinberg.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, it's still morning, so good morning, Ali.
Good morning, Your Honor.
I'd like to begin by briefly acquainting the court and the board with your personal history. I listened to the previous presentation on the first petitioner. Our presentation will be very brief. We're not going to reiterate anything that's in the papers that have been, the documents that have been submitted. But I would ask that the court would indulge us in permitting Ali to make a brief closing statement after his testimony to the board. So, Ali, where were you born?
I was born in Iran, Tehran.
Okay, and when did you emigrate to the United States?
In 1986, I was 15 years old.
Okay. And please briefly describe for the court your educational background leading to your PharmD degree.
I went to high school here, and then after that, I attended 2 years at East Los Angeles College, and then after that, I went to UC Irvine. I also took classes at LACC, Cal State LA, Cal State Long Beach, and then in 1990, I was accepted to USC School of Pharmacy, and I attended USC for 4 years, and in 1994, I received my doctorate degree from USC.
And when did you receive your pharmacist license? That same year?
Same year, passed the board, this first attempt.
Ultimately, you became an owner of Roxbury Pharmacy. Can you acquaint the board with your work experience before you became an owner at Roxbury Pharmacy as a pharmacist?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes. When did you become an owner of Roxbury Pharmacy?
In 1998.
Okay, 4 years after licensure. So before you became an owner, in that 4-year period, would you relate to the board what your work experience as a pharmacist was?
Right. Right after graduation, I hear myself, so let me just remove this. I started working for Save-On's Drug at CVS and Save-On's. And then after that, I worked at Bayview Pharmacy. And then in 1998, I purchased Roxbury Pharmacy, and I worked there until it was subsequently sold in 2003.
Okay. And when you worked at Roxbury Pharmacy, were you the pharmacist in charge?
No, I was not.
No. And who was the pharmacist in charge?
Irvin Reiner.
Okay. And was Mr. Reiner the previous owner of Roxbury Pharmacy?
Yes, he was.
Yes. And do you know whether he served as pharmacist in charge when he was owner?
Yes, he did.
And then he remained on and assumed that position under new ownership. Is that correct?
Correct.
And were there other pharmacists working at Roxbury Pharmacy besides Mr. Reiner?
Yes, there was another full-time pharmacist, Dan Fukumoto, and also my brother, he worked full-time there as
Your
well.
brother Reza Abolarrar.
Reza Abolarrar, right.
Okay. And were there pharmacy technicians working there too, if you remember?
Yes, there were 4 or 5 other technicians, many clerks. There were a total of perhaps 30 to 32 employees at Roxbury Pharmacy. It was a very big operation.
Right. And did you work there?
Yes, I did.
Okay. If you recall, how many days a week were you there?
Between 4 to 5 days a week.
Okay. And were you there the whole day on those days that you were there?
No, I lived far from the pharmacy, so I usually spent about perhaps 3 to 4, sometimes 5 hours.
And what were your duties when you were working at Roxbury Pharmacy?
My main duties were taking care of accounts receivable, accounts payable, payroll, taxes, And on occasion, I would take new prescriptions on the phone. I would do patient counseling. And once in a while, I would fill a prescription if it was very busy.
So you did not hold down a steady shift as a pharmacist at Roxbury Pharmacy?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Now, you and your brother Reza were subsequently tried and convicted of Medi-Cal fraud.
Correct.
If you recall, on what date were you convicted?
I don't exactly remember the date, but it was sometimes in 2004.
Right. Okay. And as Attorney General Pune remarked, you subsequently served 40 months at Lompoc Correctional Facility. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. I can see that during the break, one of my notes was left in my office. If I might take a 1-minute break to retrieve them.
Yes.
Thank you. Forgive the interruption. Thank you, Your Honor.
Sure.
Ali, when were you released from Lompoc?
In 2009.
Okay. And let me ask you about a little bit about your family. You're married, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And do you have any children?
I do have 2 children.
All right. And what are their ages?
My son is 15 years old and my daughter is 11.
Okay. And when you were in the interim between the time that you were incarcerated and now here presenting at this hearing, you did not work as a pharmacist, of course. How did you support the family, if you did?
In 2003, I bought a car wash in the city of Newport Beach, and I have been an owner of that establishment since then, and I still own it, and I work there.
I see. Okay. And if the board sees fit to grant your petition, would you continue to work there, or would you be working as a pharmacist?
I would much rather work as a pharmacist.
Okay. When you were released from Lompoc, you were then placed on probation. Is that correct?
Correct.
And your probation ended in 2012. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
A letter is being submitted along with the application indicating that the period is
Right.
over.
It's in your package. Yes, that's correct. So may I ask, between 2012 and the time that you filed your petition, why did you wait so long to petition for the reinstatement of your pharmacist license?
Receiving my degree as a pharmacist and being a licensed pharmacist was the highlight of my life. And having to lose it it was a catastrophe to me. And the fact that I mean, this event that we are in right now, this was probably the most, like, I did not want to go through this process of having to, I went through the whole hearing, and it was a very shameful experience. There were some mistakes made that I do take full responsibility for. But I knew that if I had to rehabilitate my and to revitalize my license, I had to go through this process again. And this process is extremely painful and shameful. But it came to a point that I realized that I have to do this. I cannot go through the rest of my life knowing that I do owe an explanation to the Board of Pharmacy about what happened. I went through a trial. I paid my restitution. I did everything that I had to do, but I always thought that this meeting that we are in today is also a part of my rehabilitation, and I had to answer to the board. I was a registered pharmacist, and mistakes were made that were substantially related to the practice of pharmacy, even though there was no question of harming patients or patient care. There was never a question of that. Even throughout the trial, that point was made and established. There were the mistakes that were made were the false claims. But I always thought that I owe an explanation to the Board of Pharmacy, and I have to explain to them and even be questioned about what happened. And if I am remorseful, if I'm shameful about what happened, I do owe the members of the board that. And I tried to postpone this as much as I could, but it got to a point that I thought that I had to do this. That's why I waited so long, but I'm here today.
All right, thank you for that.
Sure.
Now, what have you done? What have you done to prepare for this day? I know that's a broad question. Do you understand what I'm asking you?
There are, I know that there are some, what you mean for me to explain is rehabilitation as a person. And then there is familiarizing myself with new medications and new trends and updating myself. I've registered with the past NAPLIX now since 2019. I've been listening to their courses that they have online, and then as well as attending their in-person classes that they have. But since the COVID started, it's online. So I've attended a 7-day workshop with them. It's 10 days, so it's 70 hours. And I've signed up for another one, which coincidentally is this week. So I had to postpone it to September. So that's another 70 hours. And I also read the publications of the professional publications such as Pharmacy Times, Pharmacy Today, America's Pharmacist, and study the RX prep, and that's about all I do.
Okay, but now by way of rehabilitation,
All right.
Which we're talking about now,
Okay.
have you performed any community service, whether it was before, during, or after your incarceration? Yeah, if you have, please describe that for the court and for the board.
In 2003, Mel Barron, who is the assistant dean of School of Pharmacy, he sent me to this clinic in South Central LA. I don't have a letter or any, or I don't even recall the name, but for a period of 3 months, I volunteered there. I was still a registered pharmacist, so I worked there for free. for 3 months, working on their formulary with their physicians there. It was a free clinic, and I could probably get the name later on. But since 2014, I've been fortunate to work with Pastor Rubik. He has a ministry in city of Glendale, Iranian Christian Church of Los Angeles. I've been working with him very closely for the past 7 years. He wrote a letter for me as well, which is included in the package. Most of the members of the church are immigrants that haven't been here for too long. I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I'm the most highly educated person in that church, along with another veterinarian. So a lot of young people have questions about how to integrate within this society, and about how to go to school for higher education. Some of them want to acquire a business. Some of them just want to get a Social Security card. So I work with Pastor Rubik in that regard. Also, on about 5 or 6 occasions within the past 3-4 years, we deliver food to Pastor Rubik has these places knows his neighborhoods in Fresno and Bakersfield. One of the church members donates food, and we take it up there. He also works with 2 hospices. There is a Bright Life Hospice, and then there is Global Hospice. Patients that are terminally ill, when they're on their deathbed, they request to be seen by the pastor. On about 8 or 9 occasions, I accompany him to the patient's site. Some of them are not conscious. Some of them, they just want to hear a prayer from the pastor, and I'm just there to accompany him. And I do not do anything other than observe and just be there. And also, I'm working with Pastor Rubik to become a full-time minister of the church.
I see.
He is part of, he's affiliated with Southern Baptist Church and the Church of God. I've met with the bishop, and I've attended workshops, and I'm on my way. Perhaps in a few years, I could become a minister with the church.
And one of the letters of support that was submitted from Dr. Barron, who is
Correct.
now a full professor in clinical pharmacy at the USC School of Pharmacy. Happens to be my oldest friend, and he was happy to send this letter, and as a matter of fact, referred you to me. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Many years ago.
Yes, many years ago. And he says nice things about you. And I'd like to address the court about this letter in my closing. Excuse me. These events that occurred at the pharmacy, the pharmacist in charge, of course, is responsible for the day-to-day operation of the pharmacy. Was that correct at Roxbury as well?
Correct.
Right, but you've testified that on occasion you would, when needed, fill prescriptions and so on.
Correct.
All right, and at trial, it was proven that false claims had been submitted.
Correct.
Right. Okay. And you and I have spent much time together when you've expressed your remorse to me about what went on at the pharmacy. Whether you knew or not is not important to you, because you have said to me, have you not, that you feel remorseful about what happened and you accept full responsibility. Do you now, as you're here before the board, accept full responsibility for the claims that were submitted?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay. As an owner of the pharmacy and as someone, I guess, who benefited from those claims, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you feel that that you're fully ready to resume the practice of pharmacy if the court grants your petition?
Absolutely.
Okay. Ali, you've asked me if you might briefly address the court and the board. And so with the court's permission, Your Honor, it'll just take a minute or two or three. May the petitioner address the court.
Yes.
Thank you.
I want to thank the members of the board to give me this opportunity. As I said earlier, I believe that being here and answering to the Board of Pharmacy, of which I was a member of this, I was a registered pharmacist. I do thank every one of you for listening and giving me a chance to explain and express how sorry I am, remorseful, shameful even, for the events that have that have occurred in the past. I appear to you in the most sincere way that I can. I have 2 small children, and I have to teach them that, you know, you have to take responsibility for your actions. My son is just learning how to drive. He's applied for his driver's license, and I'm helping him. And we have all these discussions all the time that how he needs to be a responsible driver. He's dealing with other people's life, his own safety of himself and others are important. And throughout our discussions, I have to tell him that I've made mistakes in the past, of which I am trying to rehabilitate myself and try to put it behind me. My son is trying to make a decision to go to school. He knows I have a doctorate degree. My doctorate degree from USC, it's in our garage. I was telling Herb, is right next to the dartboard, and once in a while they hit it. They are at the point where deciding on to going to school and pursuing a higher education is the hottest topic in our family. And they know I'm a pharmacist, but I'm not practicing as a pharmacist. And my children are an important part of this decision to come back before this board, as difficult as it is, but to ask you to give me a second chance in order to correct the mistakes of the past. I've paid my restitution, I've served the time, I'm well aware of all the mistakes that have occurred in the past, and I promise this board that if I'm given a second chance, I'm not going to take this for granted. I was in my 20s when these mistakes and errors happened. I just turned 50 years old, and I will assure that nothing of this sort will ever happen again. I've paid a huge price. As I said, being a pharmacist is a privilege. I did not understand or realize it as I do today. I'm much more mature. And I just am asking the board to give me a second chance to redeem myself. And at the end, I want to thank Dr. Weinberg for being a source of guidance, and he's a great mentor. And I thank every member of the board, and I do ask you to please give me a second chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Your Honor, I have nothing by way of questioning of the petitioner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weinberg. Mr. Pyun, do you have any questions?
Just a few, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Abular, what is your plan should your license be reinstated in terms of employment as a pharmacist, if any?
I would try to find employment and start working as a pharmacist. And
So go ahead.
And comply with any restriction or anything I have to do in order to get my license, and I would definitely work as a pharmacist. And
Go ahead.
yes, I forgot to say that I was a very good student. I was 23 years old when I graduated from USC, and I was the first person in 2 or 3 classes before me and 2 or 3 classes after me to open their own pharmacy. I was also adjunct assistant professor of clinical pharmacology at USC. Dr. Fred Wiseman was sending me first-year students. Dr. Mel Barron would send me fourth-year students. I was even a preceptor of a university in Arizona, and they were sending me students from the state of Arizona. I was very active with the School of Pharmacy, and I still keep in touch with Dr. Barron, who's still the assistant dean. I forgot to say that before. Sorry to have you to include that in your section.
No, not at all. In fact, yeah, I really don't have any other questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. We'll open up for board questions. I'll go in reverse order this way. So checking in first, Member Field, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. And thank you, Dr. Abahara. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I do have a couple questions. I know you said that you welcome your day, I guess you could call us in court, but your day before the board to talk about the false claims that occurred. So it sounds like you were not the PIC, but you're taking responsibility for them. Did you know they were happening?
Vaguely aware. I was not personally involved, but I knew that I was aware of the inconsistency, but I was not aware of how bad the situation was. It had, as I answer this question, it's not that I'm going to say that I'm innocent or no. I'm guilty as charged, but it was not very clear because of the nature of how the prescriptions were submitted to the pharmacy. And so I do see it now and throughout the trial that it was the wrong way of handling those prescriptions the way we did. If I may explain, you know, these were liver transplant patients who were prescribed a number of a quantity of drugs that, as time went by, their need for those prescriptions went down, but the billing stayed the same. That's how the inconsistency in billing happened. I should have intervened to correct it. I financially benefited from it, but that's unfortunately because it was not like people were bringing in prescriptions. The prescriptions were being faxed in. And do you want me to elaborate more, or?
Yeah, actually I would, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So the number of prescriptions, I mean, everybody had the same number of quantity of medication required, checked, and as time went by, they needed less, and the nurse would call and say, for Prograf, instead of 90, give the patient 70. So, but the billing stayed at 90, unfortunately. I had to, for the pharmacist in charge, we had to call and correct and get a new prescription for the right quantity. Is that clear? Yes.
So you would bill for 90. How many would you actually give to the patient? 70 or 90?
Whatever the nurse said, the patient, you know, the requirements, how much they needed, it would change, it would fluctuate, especially in the beginning of their transplant.
Okay.
Yes.
And it was this was just a process that the former owner had put in place like years ago and just kind of flowed forward as you and your brother became the owner, and you just,
No, actually, I was, the whole program started because we had one patient, a liver transplant patient. Our services was so good, and we were taking care of the patient so well. Something that never came up in the trial, and if I may mention it, I cannot say off record, but you're on record. There were a lot of patients that we did not even take their insurance. At that time, we could not even take Medicare. Tens of thousands of dollars of medication that were dispensed without even charging the insurance. Because, being a good clinician, we try to take care of the patient and give them all the medication that they needed it. So there was never a question of patient care. There was never, patients were given a great service, but unfortunately there were inconsistencies and mistakes made in the billing part of the.
just so I kind of make sure I've got this, so you billed for medication that was not handed out to the patient?
There were some that, they had the prescription for, instead of putting the prescription on file, they were billed for. A fraction of it was like that, and then there were some that the quantities were wrong. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So really what we're talking about is rehabilitation of ethics, right?
Right.
And I hear that you've done a lot of community service. Sounds like what you did down in Skid Row at that, I know that clinic that the USC supports, and Dr. Barron specifically.
Right.
So that's fantastic. But tell me, how does community service fix an ethical deficit?
How does community service, well, I'm a father of 2 kids. I'm teaching them ethics. If I don't know, I cannot teach them. And I really don't know how to answer that question. Ethical standards, it's something that we all need to uphold. And
So let me ask you maybe a different way. I'm not trying to.
I cannot connect the ethical standards and ethical knowledge with community work.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is all about rehabilitation. It's not about, punishing you. It's about making sure that you've rehabilitated yourself. Whereas when you're this young man, you could allow those false claims to happen. That's the ethical deficit. But now you're ready to change and say, I've been rehabilitated. So I fixed my ethics. And I guess that's what I'm just trying to wrap my arms around, is feel comfortable that, you have fixed your ethics. And community service, I think, is how you're in part doing it with your kids, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Of course, doing the good thing and the right thing, even if it's not observed or monitored by people, has its own virtue. It doesn't need to be rewarded. There is no instant gratification with upholding ethical standards, but it does affect one's life. I have to live with myself. As I said, I always had a nightmare of this day appearing before the board and having to explain these mistakes of the past. That should tell you that I am aware that I am my own worst judge. And
yeah, I totally understand how that works. So it sounds like you've taken some teaching moments with your children.
yes.
Have you taken advantage of maybe some teaching moments at USC, since you are close to Dr. Barron, and talk to maybe some of the pharmacy students there?
I will do that, but in order to do that, I need to fully restore myself and my position as a pharmacist. I cannot go there and I say, I've made these mistakes, and still, I haven't come, the circle hasn't been completed yet. Once I do, I absolutely would tell her, Mel, that if there is an occasion for me to appear before, also the reason it took me so long, I had trouble talking about these things because I was so shameful. Now as I talked about it today, I can go to pharmacy school and ask Mel in one of his lectures, once the classes are back up, I'm willing to go and present my life story to them, that I was a very good student at the same school as you, and if you're not careful, if you lapse in your ethical and moral judgment, you will pay for it dearly. And as I have paid dearly, as I said, getting my license and my degree was the highlight of my life, and losing it was the most catastrophic event of my life.
I do want to thank you sincerely for coming before us. I know it's not comfortable, and to have us stare at you and ask these questions, I do appreciate your honesty and candor today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Member Wise, do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you, Your Honor. Hello, Doctor. First, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much for appearing before us today. We know that it is not difficult. Thank you for your humility. Can you please tell me, would you or do you have plans to own a pharmacy? Is that something you would like to pursue in the future?
Perhaps not own a pharmacy. I think I would want to take baby steps, become a staff pharmacist. I don't honestly see myself as going as far as owning a pharmacy again, but I really do want to be part of this great community of pharmacists. I'm extremely passionate about, and I in all humility, I was a great pharmacist. I mean, I want to be humble, but at the same time, I want to express to you that I was really good at this, and I want to, it's not so much the pride of ownership that interests me at this point in my life. It's so much about practicing what I like. And I did not I did not want to, it was not the ownership that gave me the pride. It's just being able to help people, making them make the best decision on their pharmaceutical care that gives me the pleasure. It's not so much the ownership.
Okay, thank you. And you have expressed regret and remorse in coming to a realization of a lapse in ethics. When did that revelation come to you?
Perhaps there was I was angry at myself during the time I was incarcerated, and then it was a gradual process. But part of the decision to come before this board and asking to get my license back was also working with the pastor. I see that I can actually do more. And I realized, even like attending the church sermons, it's a gradual. It didn't happen at one time. And as I am a father of 2 kids too, that I'm constantly on daily basis teaching them to do the good thing. I'm teaching my son to stop at the stop sign, even though there are no cops. There's nobody there to give you a ticket, but you still have to stop at the stop sign. And it's a gradual process. I think I've matured into it.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much for appearing before the board, and good luck with those driving lessons.
Thank you.
Member Sanchez, any questions?
Yes. First, I wanted to thank you for sharing all that with us. And I'm the one member who's actually in law enforcement here for 33-year veteran as a police officer and state investigator. And part of the things I've always done is interviews and interrogations. I could tell you're telling the truth. You're talking from your heart. And I want to tell you that in 2012, when you ended your probation, you paid your debt to society. You can leave that behind you. Get that monkey off your back. You've built your foundation this whole time. What you've done to better yourself with your family, your church, all your participation stuff, that just betters who you are as a person. And I wish you the best of luck in continuing with the pharmacy, your profession. I think time will tell, how well you can, get your life completely together and make that full circle you talked about. But I just want to say, you paid your debt to society. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Keep that chin up, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Butler, any questions?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. And I too want to thank you, Doctor, for being here and speaking. I did want to ask you, when you said you worked 5 hours at the pharmacy, was that 5 hours a day or 5 hours a week?
About 5 hours, both 5 hours a day. I unfortunately lived, I had to commute about an hour, 20 minutes each way. So my day was about 8 hours, but of that 2 hours was driving.
Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't clear basically because you say that you worked 5 hours. So I wasn't sure based on the travel if you were just working 5 hours a week or 5 hours a day. And what was your brother's position in the pharmacy?
He was in charge of more of ordering the drugs, and he was more involved in the pharmacy aspect of running the pharmacy. I dealt with a lot of patients like on counseling or answering the phone. We had a lot of people call and ask questions about, the way to take their medication. They had questions about, and we were an extremely busy pharmacy. We were doing on average 500 prescription a day. And so there were many phone calls, which the staff pharmacists just did not have time to answer. I would take new prescriptions, refill authorization sometimes, or even once in a while, just if it was too busy for like patients that were waiting for a prescription, and I would just jump in, fill that prescription, and do the counseling.
Was he a clerk? I mean, his position then was a pharmacy clerk or a pharmacy tech?
My brother?
Yes.
He was a registered pharmacist as well.
Oh, okay. That's what I want. I wasn't clear. They just said your brother. I just heard your brother worked there. So,
Including,
okay.
we were four registered pharmacists.
Okay, 4 registered pharmacists. Okay. So, I did hear you say something in response to Debbie's question about the fact that there were some patients that, so there are some patients that received the medication that did not, their insurance didn't pay for it. So how did they get it?
We will just fill it and send it to them. We got, regardless of being paid for it was close to, like, I remember it was like $80,000 or $90,000 of it. We could not bill Medicare for it, but we had this commitment to the UCLA liver transplant department that we promised them we will furnish the medication to the patient. We sent out the medication first, and then we got paid later. Sometimes we didn't.
I see. Well,
yes.
I would certainly say that that's commendable. I mean, when I look at the fact that that they say that 200,000 was not, was not dispensed to patients, that was billed. But at the same time, hearing that you were given medications to patients at times that could not pay. I mean, I just commend you for that. I commend you as far as the ethics also, the fact that you're planning to, you're a minister. Are you on your way to becoming a minister? I think that certainly shows someone that has, and of course, this is something that has happened as after you came after the 3 years, correct?
Actually, if I may elaborate on that, when I was incarcerated, the Bishop of Santa Barbara on Easter of 2008, he visited the chapel at the place I was incarcerated, and that had a great impact on me. The Bishop of the Catholic Church, he got down on his knees and he washed the feet of 10 or 11 of the prisoners. That had a great impact on me. That single event.
Okay, well, that certainly says a whole lot to me also. And there is a thing they call forgiveness. So I appreciate you being here and I appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
And Vice President Serpa, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Avalar, I just wanted to thank you for your heartfelt testimony. It really is, appreciate your time and sharing your story with us, but I have no questions.
All right, and President O, do you have any questions?
I do have a few questions, Dr. Abolahar. Thank you for coming. Just starting with your brother. I do believe he is a registered pharmacist now. Is that correct?
Right now, yes.
And
correct.
what does he do now?
I'm not quite sure, but he's a registered pharmacist.
Okay. Do you maintain good relationship with him?
Yes, we do. But unfortunately, this whole case of pharmacy was, we were on this. He was co-defendant on the case, and he was also sentenced to the to the same punishment. So I always thought that if we didn't work together, perhaps none of this would have happened. So we are family. We see each other, but we try not to get too involved in the pharmacy talks with him, or try to plan anything on pharmacy. As I said, I'm 50 years old. I want to just maintain a low profile. I just want to be a staff pharmacist, perhaps in a chain drugstore. When two people get together, they have great ideas. They want to open up the next biggest chain pharmacies in the world. So I try not to do that.
Okay. And thank you. And you mentioned, so that was my next question, if you have any specific plans on what kind of types of pharmacy work, but looks like you want to go into a chain pharmacy.
I haven't given it much thought, but most likely I'm not looking into being an owner of a pharmacy. Probably be a staff pharmacist at a local independent pharmacy. It's very easy for me to talk to customers, to patients, and to gain their confidence, and they see my sincerity and my level of knowledge and care. That's probably what I would be looking forward into getting into, a local community pharmacy.
And you said you have 2 children. Are they fully aware of what happened?
Yes,
with
they are.
why? Okay. And lastly, it seems like you did pay a lot of fine. How were you able to pay that in full? That's a lot of money.
Yes, it was paid not right away. I think it was paid. First of all, it was a split between me and my brother, and we had an investment somewhere that we had to sell in order to pay for it.
Okay. Thank you for your testimony and appreciate your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Weinberg, do you have any redirect questions?
Give me a moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move into closing comments. Mr. Pyun, you can lead us off if you have any thoughts or recommendations.
I don't really have any closing on this one, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Weinberg, your final thoughts?
Yes, Your Honor. Before I go into a formal closing, which will be very brief, during the interim when we kind of got bumped from our first position, I called Dr. Mel Barron at the USC School of Pharmacy, reached him quite easily, asked him if he had ever been contacted by the Board of Pharmacy regarding his letter. He said he had not been. I asked him if they left a message, would you get it? He said, absolutely. So if the fact that only one of the 4 letters has been verified by the writer becomes an issue with regard to, a technical issue with regard to the board deciding in favor of the petitioner, if we could keep the record open for, let's just say, the next 5 days so that I can get to these other letter writers whom I suspect were not contacted by the board to cure that problem. Would that be possible?
I'm kind of leaning no. There's a lot of logistics in that. It sounds simple, but in terms of getting that to the board and having them consider, et cetera. But let me check in with Mr. Pyun. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have any objection in principle on it, Your Honor. Say if there are formal difficulties, this is just me talking. I really don't know. I've not encountered this before, but I would say that I don't think that the petition should be held back on a mere technicality if it's being represented to us that there's a verification. I don't know necessarily how the board, I leave that to the board's discretion how they would decide that one way or the other in the absence of a verified letter where there's a representation that it's verified. I don't have any objection to it, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Weinberg, I think I'm going to punt on that. I'm going to deny the request now, but mainly because it's the board's decision and that's something that they should discuss in closed session. And I guess if it's an issue, the board will make itself known to you and your client, and then we'll take the next step. But I don't think I can make that decision right now during the hearing.
All right, thank you. Then I'll just close.
Okay.
I've known the petitioner personally for many years and consider him to be a trusted friend. He was referred to me by my oldest friend, Dr. Mel Barron, whom I met during my first day in pharmacy school at USC. And we were in business together for years and so on, and raised our kids together. And so I guess I know Mel Barron better than I know anybody else. But at any rate, I came to know Ali well during his trials and tribulations, and I consider him to be a genuinely moral and trustworthy individual. He's paid for society for his mistakes and failings, and he's taken full responsibility for them. He appears before you today humbled and with hopes that you will restore him to his chosen profession, as you did several years ago for his brother Reza, who, like the petitioner, was convicted and incarcerated for the same offense. I beg you to give the petitioner a chance to prove his value to the profession and to the community at large. Knowing him as I do, I promise that you will not regret his reinstatement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weinberg. The matter is submitted and the hearing has concluded and will go off the record. Okay, President O, we're during our lunch period normally. How did you want to proceed?
Yes, if we may take a lunch break until about 1 o'clock, if we can come back, if that's agreeable.
Okay, so 1 o'clock, then my thought would be we would hear next on the Chung matter if we're continuing in alphabetical order, and then conclude with the Culdest matter. Does that pose any concern to you, President O?
Not at all, Your Honor.
Okay, anyone on the Chung matter or the Culdest matter who are here, does anyone have any objections to proceeding that way?
No, sir.
This is moderator. Mr. Chung, your line is unmuted.
Oh, no objections.
Okay, great. Then have a nice lunch, everyone. We'll see you back at 1 o'clock.
Your Honor, would you like me to take a roll call?
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't see a lot of members on the video, so I might wait a little bit, or I'll try to just call down and see if they're back. So, Maria?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl Butler? Okay, we'll come back for Cheryl. Ricardo Sanchez? They must be enjoying lunch too much today. Okay. Debbie Veal?
I'm here.
Thanks, Debbie. Jason Wise?
I'm here.
Thank you, Jason. And I am here. Cheryl, are you back? Ricardo?
This is the moderator. I see they are both still connected.
Okay, we'll give them like 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Judge?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Mr. Chung, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Pyun?
Yes, I'm here, Your Honor.
Great. Okay. Stand by.
Cheryl's back. Hi, Cheryl. Oh, she walked away.
I'm here now, Ricardo
Are you back?
Sanchez.
Okay. Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl, you back?
Yes, I'm back. I'm back.
All
Thank
right.
you. Okay.
Your Honor, we have all members present and still working as a committee.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Then we'll proceed with the next matter. We'll go on the record. And I'm calling the matter of the petition for reinstatement of Keith Chung. This is before the Board of Pharmacy, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. This matter bears OAH case number 2021-060380. Today is June 17th, 2021. It is 1:02 p.m. This matter is being conducted before the Board of Pharmacy, sitting as a committee pursuant to Business and Profession Code Section 4309, Subdivision C. I'm Eric Sawyer, Administrative Law Judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings. My office is in Los Angeles. This matter is being conducted by video conference and telephonic conference in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. At this time, I'd like the parties to identify themselves for the record, beginning with the petitioner.
Keith Chung.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Chung.
Hi.
And representing the Attorney General.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Steve Pyun here on behalf of the people of the state of California.
Okay, good afternoon to you as well. Mr. Chung, do I understand correctly that you are representing yourself in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I normally have a list of items to explain to people that are representing themselves, but when I reviewed your petition package for today, I saw that you've been through this process before. So I'm thinking perhaps you pretty much understand the process and would not need me to explain it. Does
Yes, Your
that
Honor.
sound right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions about the proceeding today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, very well, thank you. All right, then with that being said, Mr. Pyun, you can make an overview statement of the case and identify and move the petition and attachments into evidence.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. If I may, as a preliminary remark, I'm having a hard time hearing Mr. Chung. If you could possibly speak up just a little bit, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Your Honor, this is another petition for reinstatement. The petitioner, Keith Chung's license was revoked pursuant to a stipulated revocation back in 2012. That resulted from an accusation that was filed that was in turn based on a criminal conviction, at least in part on a criminal conviction, that was substantially related to the qualifications, functions, and duties of a licensed pharmacist. The accusation also, did I hear somebody? I'm sorry. The accusation also includes causes for discipline for gross immorality, moral turpitude, being under the influence of drugs, and possession of a controlled substance, and committing acts that would have warranted denial of licensure. The underlying facts are that this, as far as the criminal conviction is concerned, there are two incidents that appear to have been part of that conviction. It was a felony count for animal cruelty. There was one incident in 2007 in which police officers responded to a call, came to the petitioner's residence. They had responded to a call saying that I guess witnesses had observed a male who was beating a dog. When they got to the petitioner's residence, they found a dog that was in pretty bad shape. That dog ended up having to be put down as a result of its injuries. In the home, they found 2 knives. They found in the bathroom, a lot of, I don't want to get into too much detail necessarily, but they found a lot of blood and things like that. They also actually found another dead dog in the petitioner's a methamphetamine pipe with residue and several prescription drugs in his possession. The other incident that was part of this conviction was in 2006. I don't know if I said that explicitly, but the first incident that I discussed was in 2007.
All right, I'm sorry, Mr. Pyun, your sound is cutting out there at the end. Can you repeat your last sentence?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify in case I hadn't. Is that better, Your Honor? Can you hear me?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify for the record that the first occasion I just described happened in 2007. This other incident I'm just about to describe happened in 2006. That was when the petitioner purchased a puppy from an individual. Later the same day, the petitioner tried to return that puppy, but it turned out to have suffered what they later discovered was severe trauma to its chest, and it ended up dying while in transport to a veterinary hospital. So these are the two incidents that led to his felony conviction of animal cruelty. The petitioner was sentenced to 16 months in state prison. Aside from the criminal conviction, there was another incident in 2010 during which petitioner was stopped at a DUI checkpoint, and he was found to be in possession of methamphetamine and under the influence of illegal drugs. As Your Honor alluded to, the petitioner here has filed 2 prior petitions for reinstatement, one in 2016, one in 2018, both of which were denied. Along with this petition for reinstatement, the petitioner has submitted continuing education certificates for 47.75 hours, taken from August 2020 through January 2021. He has also submitted 4 letters of recommendation, 3 of which were verified. I'll just point out, as I have in the other cases, verified letters is from a licensee of the board. And then, Your Honor, I'll just go ahead and do the same thing I have been with the other cases, and I'll ask that all of the documents, the petition, supporting documents, letter, notice of hearing, all of those that were submitted with the request to set be collectively marked and admitted as Exhibit 1.
All right, thank you. Those items just described are marked for identification as Exhibit 1. Mr. Chung, do you have any objection to those items being admitted into the record, meaning the board can review and consider all of them in deciding your petition?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor, and that's all I have by way of opening. I'll go ahead and let the petitioner proceed.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Chung, I'm going to swear you in and then I'll let you address the board if you would like to do so. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California that in this hearing you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
And for the record, would you please state and spell your name?
Keith Chung, Keithchung.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chung. As Mr. Pian mentioned before, your sound is it's a little harder to hear you, so if you can try to keep your voice up and speak directly into the microphone that you have to make sure all the board members can hear you, that would be great. And if I interrupt you occasionally, that's probably because I'm having trouble hearing you and I'm just reminding you to speak up, all right?
Can I change my microphone? 1 second.
Sure.
I'm not sure that's better, but that's better.
I think so. I think it's a little better.
It sounds much better to me, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chung. Okay, so Mr. Chung, you're under oath now. I'll give you an opportunity to make an address to the board. I would like to emphasize, as you may remember from prior matters you've had with the board, they've received copies of your petition and your attachments. They have all reviewed it. So they have a working knowledge of the materials that you presented. It would be recommended for you to not repeat or restate what's already in your written materials because the board's already seen that. Today, a really good use of time would be if there's anything that's happened subsequent to when you filed the documents that you would like to tell the board to update them on your situation, and then also to make yourself available for questions by Mr. Pian or the board members. So with that being said, what would you like to tell the board?
I'm really sorry for what I've done. I was evil, callous. I have no excuse for what I've done. I slaughter innocent animal lives and I destroy public trust as a person and then as a professional, as a pharmacist. I wish I could undo what I've done and I ask for forgiveness. I'm sorry to the dogs, to the public, and I am truly sorry. I believe that I have addressed my personal defects by getting the help I need. I received therapy sessions and I have been seeing a psychiatrist. I have volunteered at the animal shelter. I've been sober and clean over 6 years. I have been working as drug counselor, and I believe that people can change and be rehabilitated. And I'm hoping today that I could show the board that I have changed and I have rehabilitated. My background, I'm a veteran of a first desert storm as a United States Marine. After the desert storm in 1991, I enrolled and graduated USC School of Pharmacy in 1998. I was going through divorce in 2007, and I was charged and convicted of animal cruelty in 2008. My pharmacist license was revoked in 2012. Since then, I have completed drug counseling school at Rio Hondo College, and I have been certified as a drug counselor, and I am currently attending the Master of a Social Work program at Walden University. This is my third petition. Last petition, I remember someone asked me if I had a psychosis episode, and I didn't answer that because I was not sure, and I didn't want to excuse myself for blaming psychosis for my actions. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chung. Let's see if Mr. Pyun has any questions for you.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I do have some questions. And Mr. Chung, since you don't have an attorney, I might just ask you a few more questions. I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but I'm just going to walk you through some of the things I feel that it might help clarify for the board. The first thing actually I wanted to touch upon, just finishing your thought there, you seem to be making a point about the last time you applied, somebody asked you if you'd experienced psychosis. Just to finish that thought, they were asking you whether you were experiencing a psychotic episode when you abused the animals. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, and I didn't answer that because I wasn't sure that was true or not because I'm not a psychiatrist and I didn't know what I was experiencing at the time.
Do you have any, you don't have any different views about that now? I know you mentioned you're seeing a therapist, but.
I mean, I believe that I went through some type of episode, but I wasn't sure it was psychosis. But...
Okay, and I want to ask you about that while I'm on the subject. I had read through your paperwork, and let me see, I do see you noted that, because you didn't specifically mention therapy, but I think you said you were treated at Veterans Affairs Hospital since 2009. That would be the therapy you're referring to?
I had a therapy, also psychiatrist.
Okay, that's okay. Where
At
was
the VA
that?
hospital.
VA hospital as well. And
Yeah.
since when?
Oh, since 2007, since the incident.
Oh, okay. You're still seeing that therapist?
No, I've been to many anger management at the VA hospital since then, but not personal therapist, like group
Okay.
therapy.
And that's when you said I have been treated for depression and anger management at Veterans Affairs Hospital since 2009. I just want to give you an opportunity to clarify exactly what that entails.
Oh, the anger management is a 1 hour group sessions that I'll attend with other veterans for anger management. And depression, I've been seeing a psychiatrist and therapist for depression.
And that's been happening since 2009 to the present?
Yes, sir.
Is that, I think you said weekly, is that right?
Oh, the weekly I have stopped for the weekly anger management because I've been busy. But last time I attended was about 2 years ago for the weekly anger management therapy.
Okay, why did you stop?
I stopped because I started working full time and I kind of went out of time. And also these days I have been actually facilitating anger management at my agency. I've been actually group facilitator for the anger management.
Okay, and I will ask you a couple of questions about your employment. I wanted to touch on something. You put in here that you have been granted a certificate of rehabilitation from a judge on June 6th of 2017. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Can you give us a little more information about what that entails?
I went to the court. I filed through Los Angeles probation office, and they filed it for me. And I went to the court and got a certificate of rehabilitation.
What did you have to show or do to obtain that certificate, to earn it?
I think I had to get a psych evaluation by psychiatrist and show that I have been rehabilitated.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and tell the board about just a little more detail and flesh out a little more about what you do at the Los Angeles Center for Drug and Alcohol Abuse.
I work as a drug counselor, so I help those people in need of a service for addiction. And I also run as a group facilitator for groups such as anger management, substance use education, relapse prevention, domestic violence, and like parenting. So I also facilitate groups, and I'll help individuals who need some service for drug addiction or mental health.
How did you first find that job?
When I was going to school at Rio Hondo, I'll start interning at this place called How House, and I got eventually hired as a monitor, and then I got hired as drug counselor.
You put in here that you have been sober and clean since October 1st of 2014. Did you go to AA or something like that, or you want to tell us about your recovery?
Yes, I started going to AA. I went to, in the beginning, I used to go every day, and I eventually got a commitments in those meetings. I became secretary. I became a treasurer for the meeting. It's called Keep It Simple in Downey, where I live, and I'm still connected to the meeting. And I just went to meeting yesterday. I go to meeting through Zoom, and I still go to meetings, AA meetings. I'm very connected to most of my friends are from AA. And I did have a sponsor. I don't have any more, but I did work the steps.
Let me see here. Do you have any sort of plan or idea of what you would want to do should the board reinstate your license?
I'm not exactly sure at this point, but I do know that say, for example, my agency will hire like registered pharmacists as a LPHA, which is licensed practitioner for health art. So I could use that license to work at the agency I'm working at. And I'm not sure exactly what I want to do.
And I apologize. I'm just bringing up a document. Pardon me. Just give me 1 second if you don't mind. Well, let me just ask you, did you submit a letter from anyone at LACADA?
LACADA? The CADA? My work? I asked someone to write it for me, but my boss to write it for me, but I guess he had no time because he transferred his location, but I didn't get a letter from the CADA.
Okay.
But I did ask my supervisor to write me a letter, but he transferred and he came back, so it's kind of like, yeah.
And in the underlying order, back when your license was first revoked, there was an order that you would have to pay costs of about $24,000 should you ever be reinstated. You're aware of that?
Yes.
Have you paid those costs by chance?
I thought, this was my understanding, I thought I'll pay that amount once I get my life, if he gets reinstated.
That is true. I was just checking to see if by chance you had, but okay. And should you be reinstated, you would be willing and able to pay those costs?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. We'll open it up to questions from the board, beginning with President O.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, Dr. Chung. I'm just curious, as a pharmacist, I know Dag Pian may have asked you this, but can you just think what you would like to do if you are a pharmacist?
Well, I am familiar with the community pharmacy, and that's one area I would look at, and also looking treatment center like where I'm working at, because I know that as a pharmacist you could work as LPHA, licensed practitioner of health arts. They're registered. So one of the requirements to be LPHA is licensed registered pharmacist.
Okay, and you are going through a master's program currently?
Yes.
And I'm not trying to sound negative. Why do you want to get your license back?
To be a pharmacist is my dream as a child, and that's what I want to achieve. And if I could, I want to die as a pharmacist. Does that make sense?
Okay. And do you have any regular interactions with animals?
No.
Or do you?
Only I did volunteer at the animal shelter, but they stopped due to COVID-19. I think that I don't show some hours, but I do believe I volunteer once. I used to volunteer there once a week at it's called Scapala in Long Beach. It's called Society for Prevention to Cruelty to Animals.
Okay. No further questions, and thank you, Dr. Chung.
All right, Vice President Serpa, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I do have a couple. Dr. Chen, I was looking at your letters, and I understand that only one of the pharmacist letters could be verified by the author, and that was Dr. Alexander Chung, who I understand is not a relation, but a friend from pharmacy school.
Yes, yes.
He stated on interview that he was unaware of the discipline imposed and your activities since discipline was imposed. Why do you think he would say that?
Oh, he's aware of the discipline. This is my third time getting a letter from him, so he knows my discipline actions are. I don't know why he would say that. And I did talk to him prior to him writing the letter, and I think I'm not sure why he would say that, because I did talk to him prior. He wrote the letter.
Okay, thank you. And then a follow-up question is, part of the Board of Pharmacy with individuals that have problems with substance abuse is there are programs that sometimes the board will recommend or mandate depending on the situation. And I'm looking at your case, and I don't see that you've ever been part of a required drug testing program. Is there drug testing at your employment? And
yes.
What do you think about being involved in a program so far from your sobriety date?
Oh, I have no problem. I did submit some. I used to go to went to get hair test, which is last for 3 months. I did go to hair drug testing maybe 3 months, but I kind of stopped last. I thought, because when I was submitting the application was back in October or December, so I think that was last time I got tested. But I have no problem submitting my sobriety test.
Great, thank you. No more questions.
Okay, thank you. Member Butler, do you have any questions? I see you, but I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Dr. Chong. I was questioning you on the certificate for substance abuse and alcohol counseling. Was this something that you did after being denied the last time in September of
Yeah.
2018?
Well, I was going to school since 2014, I believe, and it took me 2 years to finish the school. And for that certificate, I need 2,000 hours of intern hours. And once I finish the 2,000 intern hours, I apply and took the test to get the certificate of drug counseling.
Okay, and you've been doing that since November 2018 up until the present time, correct?
Yes, actually, my hire date for my agency was November 1st, 2017.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, and when you were volunteering at the animal shelter, how long did you do that?
I did it for about 3 years. I know that the computer doesn't show all that hours I volunteer, because when I first started volunteering was you just kind of log into the paper, and I didn't do that. But later on, they did change to the computer where I go sign in on the computer at the site, and then I was able to retrieve the hours. I think I submitted those hours. So I started volunteering 2000. I want to say 17 or 16.
Okay. Okay, and again, if you were hired, you would want to stay with this substance abuse alcohol counseling organization as a pharmacist, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Member Sanchez, if you have any questions.
Yeah, no questions.
Okay, thank you. Member Wise, if you have any questions.
I just want to say thank you for your time, Dr. Chung. We know it is not difficult. No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. And Member Veal, if you have any questions.
Yes, I do, Dr. Chung. I do have a couple. Number one is a statement. Just congratulations on your sobriety date of October 1st, 2014, and 6 years, almost 7. So that's fantastic. I have been around for at least one, if not both of your prior times in front of the board, and I do think I've seen some progress. So questions I always ask is, what does it mean to you to be rehabilitated? How are you showing us that you're rehabilitated?
To make sure I don't do the actions that I have done in the past. One including addiction and my acts against animals.
Talking about your acts against animals, I think it's good that you're working at the animal shelter, because I recall when in the past you were like trying to stay away from dogs, and we were kind of like,
remember that? I did say that.
So I'm glad that you took our recommendation. But did you tell them of your history? Does the animal shelter know that you have a charge of cruelty against animals against you?
Well, that's a good question, because when I applied for a couple of animal shelter locations, the ones that asked denied my application. And the place I applied at, so they didn't ask my criminal history, so I didn't note it down.
Okay. And you mentioned a La Cata, I think is how you call it, that you're interested in maybe doing a pharmacist position there. Have you actually asked them about, hey, if I get my pharmacist license back, this is maybe something I might want to do? Or have you just kind of seen, like maybe their HR manual or whatever, that they have a pharmacist position?
I believe they do, because once you get a registered license, you could work as LPHA, and they are in need of LPHAs.
And have you said, I might want one of those jobs? What do you think? Have you asked?
I haven't asked, but I could definitely ask.
I was just curious if you already had. And I think Dag asked this question, but I'm not sure I heard the answer. So did you ever ask one of your therapist, hey, was that a psychotic episode that I had when I was beating up the dogs? Did you ever ask them that, or just curious?
No, I never asked that question.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being here today. Hopefully, I think it's great that you've made it this far.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Chung, do you have any other comments you'd like to make to the board, or do you think you've told them everything that you want them to know?
No, I guess that's it, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll wrap it up with closing comments. Mr. Pyun, you can lead us off.
Actually, Your Honor, again, I don't have a particular recommendation. I'll defer to the board's expertise on this matter, so I don't really have closing remarks for this matter.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Chung, any final comments before we adjourn the hearing?
Yeah, only thing was the letter recommendation that my friend, John, he was not able to reach. I don't know what happened, but like I said, he wrote the letters prior to this incident too, two previous times. I could definitely contact him to call the board if that's needed.
Okay, I would hold off on that, Mr. Chung. The only information the board can consider is what we all have been privy to today. And once the hearing ends, that pretty much ends the ability to do that. But you've explained to the board what you think happened with that. So the board has your your position on that.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, give me one moment. Okay, then thank you both very much. This matter is submitted and the hearing is concluded, and we will go off the record. Thank you, Mr. Chung.
Thank you.
All right, and President O, do you want to have a break, or do you want to go into the next hearing?
I don't think we need a break, but I will defer to members. Anybody need a break? Hearing none, I think we can move forward, Judge.
Okay, thank you, President O. Then we will queue up for the final matter involving Meyer Caldas, who I believe has counsel, Mr. Vizcocho, I believe. Are you folks with us?
Yes, Your Honor, we are.
Okay. How do I, counsel, how do I pronounce your last name?
Vizcocho, Your Honor.
Vizcocho. Is that what you said?
Yes, Vizcocho.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think I'm hearing feedback. I am. I think it's coming, I'm not sure what line it's coming from. And then Mr. Caldas, are you out there?
Yes, I'm here, Your Honor.
Okay, there we go. I see you now. Okay, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And Mr. Pyun, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Sean, and I am getting that feedback as well. I just suspect, based on the timing of it, that it's either Mr. Caldas or Mr. Vizcocho, but is there any way we can?
Yes, this is the moderator. I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna mute Mr. Caldas. And then, are we still hearing the feedback? I'm not hearing it.
No.
Okay, and then I'm gonna mute, Mr. Vizcocho is muted, okay, so the feedback is coming from on Mr. Caldas' end. Perhaps you can turn down the volume of your speakers. We can try that.
Sure.
I want to make sure you can still hear us.
Okay, can you hear the echo?
We still hear the echo. You're not connected on two different devices, are you?
No, just one.
Do you happen to have a headset available?
No, I'm sorry. And this, if I can get on a phone.
I'm actually not hearing it now.
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay, I think we're okay now for whatever reason.
Thank you.
Is the feedback maybe coming from me?
No, I don't think so. I think it was coming from Mr. Caldas.
Okay, is it coming from you now? Is it good now?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
This is the moderator. Perhaps if we can just make sure that anybody not speaking is muted, that will help keep it down to a minimum.
I think that's right. Okay, so far so good. If it crops up again and it bothers anyone, please let me know and we'll stop and go through the same process. All right, so we will go on the record calling the matter of the petition for early termination of probation of Meyer H. Caldas. This is before the Board of Pharmacy, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. This matter bears OAH case number 2021-060415. Today is June 17th, 2021. It is 1:40 p.m. This matter is being conducted by the Board of Pharmacy, sitting as a committee pursuant to Business and Professions Code, Section 4309, Subdivision C. My name is Eric Sawyer, Administrative Law Judge, Office of Administrative Hearings. I'm from the Los Angeles office. This matter is being heard by video conference and telephonic conference in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. At this time, I'll ask the parties to identify themselves, beginning with petitioner.
Meher Caldas, spelled M-A-H-E-R, Caldas, K-A-L-D-A-S. I'm pharmacist.
Thank you. And counsel?
Your Honor, Andre Viscoccio, representing petitioner Caldas.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
And for representing the Attorney General?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Steve Pian here on behalf of the people of the state of California.
Okay, good afternoon. All right, Mr. Pian, you can make an overview of the case and describe the petition.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, as you noted, we're here on a petition for early termination of probation on this matter. The petitioner his license was revoked, with the revocation being stayed and placed on 5 years probation as of August 30th of 2017. So I believe that means his probation is currently set to end August 30th of 2022. So he would be seeking termination of probation approximately a little over a year early. The underlying case, it was an accusation and statement of issues where the petitioner and the pharmacy of which he was co-owner, CEO, and PIC were facing an accusation, but had been denied a sterile compounding license. I'll just quickly go through. There were several violations here, and specifically the ones as to the petitioner individually. The pharmacy was found to have mislabeled prescriptions with incorrect expiration dates. The pharmacy accepted telephone orders for Schedule II controlled substances from non-physicians, and maintained adulterated drugs in, I believe it was an upstairs room. They returned adulterated drugs for credit. They shipped misbranded drugs to reverse distributors. Inaccurate inventory, inaccurate record keeping. And then there was that they were engaged in sterile compounding without a license. Obviously, they were denied the application, but in the meantime, it was found that they were engaging in sterile compounding despite not having the license. And then finally, I believe they had a farm tech working there with an expired license. So these were the violations. The ALJ's decision was adopted and the petition was placed.
Okay, sorry, your sound cut out there.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I might have just gotten soft. My voice might have gotten soft there. The petitioner also submitted continuing education certificates totaling 126.25 hours from September of 2018 through April of 2020. He also submitted 14 letters of recommendation. 13 of the 14 were verified by board staff. I just want to make one note just for the board's information. Maher Awad, AWAD, one letter writer who is a licensee of the board, is currently has an accusation pending against him. Just wanted to note that for the record. That's all I have by way of opening, Your Honor, and I'll go ahead and ask that all of the documents, the petition, supporting documents, the notice of this hearing, and all other documents submitted by the petitioner and which were filed along with the request to set hearing with OAH be collectively marked and admitted into evidence as Exhibit 1.
Those items as described are so marked. Mr. Vizcocho, any objection to admitting Exhibit 1?
None, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, it is admitted. Anything further, Mr. Pyun?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vizcocho, if you'd like to make an opening statement at this time, you may. Otherwise, you can begin presenting your case.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, members of the board, Your Honor, and Mr. Pyun. Thank you for this opportunity to present our case on behalf of Mr. Caldas. As Mr. Pyun stated earlier, Mr. Caldas' pharmacist license was placed on a 5-year probation effective August 30th of 2017. And Mr. Caldas is very grateful to the board for giving him the opportunity to demonstrate his rehabilitation and commitment to public safety into the profession of pharmacy under those terms of probation. So Mr. Caldas comes before the Board of Pharmacy with this petition not to relitigate the merits of the case and underlying causes of discipline. Rather, we believe that the exceptional circumstances of his case warrant the early termination of his probation. And if it's acceptable to Your Honor, the Board of Pharmacy, I can proceed with my direct examination.
Okay, let me swear in Mr. Caldas. If you would please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California that in this hearing you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And for the record, please state and spell your name.
Maher Caldas, spelled M-A-H-E-R, Caldas, K-A-L-D-A-S.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vizcocho, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Mr. Caldas, did you go to pharmacy school?
Yes, I have.
Which pharmacy school did you go to?
Cairo School of Pharmacy, Cairo University in Asia.
When did you graduate?
1980.
And what degree did you receive from that school?
Bachelor degree in the pharmacy and pharmaceutical science.
And when did you become a California pharmacist?
In March 1985.
And can you give us a brief history and background? What's your work history? Where do you work now? And what do you do?
Yeah, I have received my training, my initial training as an intern pharmacist in West Pharmacy in Long Beach. and also at Harbor UCLA inpatient pharmacy. I work as a part-timer in part-time pharmacist in various pharmacies. And then around August of '85, I worked at Thrifty Pharmacy, Thrifty Drug. Now it's Rite Aid as a staff pharmacist, excuse me. And then later on as a PIC, pharmacist recruiter, and training the new hire. And then I co-manage after that Thrifty Junior with Mr. Kuttner. We started a new pharmacies at Thrifty Junior's initial pharmacy and all the initial settings. In '95, I purchased our Rexall drug from a retired Daryl Skinner. The pharmacy we used to sell at the time was the tobacco and other items. So I transferred this particular pharmacy, our Rexall drug, to a specialized pharmacy. So we do intravenous compounding, antibiotic injectables, hydrations, total parenteral solutions, TPNs. Also, we added a complete line for enteral nutrition for patients on G2 feedings, wound supplies for patients have like tube ulcer, pressure ulcers, osteomian supplies. And then we added also the respiratory supplies like nebulizers, CPAP, BiPAPs for patients not able to breathe well at night. And also, we added the incontinence supplies and many things like that. Initially, our Rexall drug was started with like 4 staff member, open from 9 to 7, and then we transformed that back to like 24/7 with a staff over like 100 people working for the pharmacy. We added to that the board and care, ICF, intermediate care facilities, skilled nursing facilities, subacute, and also back in 1998, I transferred these particular businesses to our home care pharmacy, which I opened in 1998. And then from there, we just started the new era of the long-term pharmacies as it is right now, or it has been. I'm sorry, do I talk very fast or doing okay? Am I talking very fast? I'm okay.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Am I talking very fast or it's okay?
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Caldas, what have you learned being on probation since August of 27 as it relates to your practice in operating a pharmacy, if you have any?
Actually, going back to since 2011, my first inspection of the pharmacy, I learned a lot about the laws and the regulations that govern the practice of the pharmacy and realized what caused the problems that resulted in the allegations and then later on with the accusations. I learned a lot. I know there are some mistakes happened during my years of work, and truly I worked very hard so nothing of these will happen again.
Thank you. And since the resolution of the accusation that was brought against you, what have you done differently, and particularly with the causes for discipline or the alleged violations that were brought against you, as they relate to the third cause for discipline, wherein the board found that there were several prepackaged prescription with the mislabeled sticker found within the pharmacy premises?
This particular incident, in 2011, I had a board inspection at the pharmacy. It was 3 prescriptions. Was assigned a 1-year expiration date because at the time the computer software was assigning 1-year expiration date, provided the filling technician, when they see the actual expiration date of the medication less than 1 year, they should cross it out and override it by hand and write the good expiration date, which is less than 1 year in that instances. As soon as I found out these particular 3 prescriptions in this particular day pointed out by the inspector, I myself called my software vendor, and they removed the defaulted 1-year expiration from all the pharmacy filling prescriptions. We fill about in any given day about 1,500 prescriptions. So what 3 incidents out of these was big enough to change the whole practice. So we changed the policy of the pharmacy. We changed the software. We removed the default 1-year expiration, and we trained the technicians for the new procedure. And to add to this, it's our policy at the pharmacy since I had it back in '95. Any medication expires 3 months or less should be taken off the shelves and sent back to for destruction to reverse distributor. In a way, patient will never get any expired medications. More than that, the nature of our business for the skilled nursing facility, we are dispensing a 30-day, no more than 30-day supply at any given time to our client, to our patients. So basically, yes, the prescription was, the expiration date on the label was more than supposed to be. It's like 1 year, and truly the expiration date should be between 6 to 8 months from the day was filled by the pharmacy. So even though the wrong expiration date will not pose any risk or harm to the patient, because the fact patient should be finishing the medications within 30 days. And any leftover from this particular prescription for the following month, they take it off the mid-card for destruction, and the pharmacy will dispense a new 30 days for the following cycle. Yes, it's an error from our end. The technician put the wrong expiration, the software, and put the 1 year, and the technician overlooked it, and the filling pharmacist overlooked it. So yeah, there's an error. There's no doubt. Clerical error, administrative error, but it's still an error. And this has been fixed at the time of the inspection back in 2011.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caldas. Regarding the 4th cause for discipline, wherein the board found that OWL pharmacists improperly accepted Schedule II controlled substances over the phone by not verifying the orders with the actual prescribers. What did you do differently?
This particular incident, it was 6 prescriptions at the time of the inspection in 2011. The pharmacist at that time, I was the pharmacist in charge, but the sub-pharmacist accepted 6 different prescriptions, not having all the documents or all the requirements on the prescription. So basically, the prescription should have patient name, address and phone number, facility address, physician name, medications name, quantity, direction. So all this element has to be provided on the prescription before dispensing to the patient, and has to be verified by the physicians. So this
did you do anything? Sorry, did you do anything differently once you were informed of this error?
Yes, we changed the policy back in 2011. Pharmacy will only fill, pharmacists and pharmacy will only fill the prescriptions for the C2 prescription, Control 2 prescriptions, if it's faxed, written, or e-prescribed. Nothing beyond that, just to avoid any administrative mishap or any things not complying with this particular laws and regulations. To add to this, the pharmacy usually fill about more or less 100 Control 2 prescriptions a day. And out of this 100, only 6 truly was fell short of the documentations.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caldas.
And to add to this is, at the time of the hearing with the ALJ, at the time of the hearing, I had the signed copy at the time, but it was not admitted in court for one reason or the other. But again, it's a short from our end.
Thank you, Mr. Caldas. In relation to the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th causes for discipline, all those causes for discipline relating to returning adulterated and or misbranded drugs for credit. What did the pharmacy or you did differently to correct this?
To correct, actually, the pharmacy, we acted in a good faith at that time, because basically we received the medications, the non-controlled medications dispensed from the pharmacy. We take it back from the facility for destruction. I thought as a PIC, I'm very compliant, because basically the medications, the expired medications, were just sitting on quarantine in the separate room upstairs. And more than that, none of these particular medications came to the pharmacy inventory improperly. So basically, they're quarantined far from the pharmacy on the second story, far from the active medications. And also, we returned this particular medication to a reverse distributor for destructions. So I thought I did everything possible in a way, nothing, I thought I'm very compliant with the law. And truly, it's an error from my end. And to correct this error, from that point on, we never accepted any medications from the nursing home facilities, even for destruction. So they do, they destruct the narcotic and the non-narcotic at the facility. So we don't accept it anymore since then.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caldas. Regarding the 15 costs for discipline, wherein the board said that you failed to produce, or the pharmacy failed to produce records to substantiate the 288 missing pills for the Timolol tablets. Can you please tell us something about the remediation correction that you did?
See, what happened is during the inspection back in April 2011, the board inspector asked me to provide multiple medications to get the accusations and dispositions. And everything, all the record was requested was submitted, including the Timolol. Timolol, during the hearing, and I just found out during the hearing saying I was short 200 and I was not able to provide record for 288 pills. But during the hearing, it was like miscalculation from this end. And it happened where I was not able to provide record for only 14 tablets. Again, 14 tablets is very small amount for a period of 2 years of inventory and working, especially if the pharmacy dispense about, say about 1,500 prescription a day. Average prescription is like what, 60 tablets. So basically every day we are dispensing close to 9,000 pills a day. Yes, 14 tablets is 14 tablets. I regret that. From this on, my instruction and the policy in the pharmacy, anything spilled on the floor, anything wasted has to be documented. So not every one pill will go unaccounted for from that point on. The practice before is, as you can tell, most of the pharmacies, they have this big jar for all the spilled pills on the floor or from the machine. They throw it in this big jar. And then we send it all the way to the destruction as like a package, as a miscellaneous pills. This could be the cause of the missing 14 pills one way or the other. I have no idea. But again, the Timolol, I took it so lightly, put it this way, because the fact Timolol is a high blood pressure medications. It's not on the watch list as an abuse medications. It's not narcotic. It doesn't have any street value. So basically, I took it so lightly myself, which is my mistake. A pill is a pill, a record is a record. I truly apologize for the record, for the mistakes encountered and led to these accusations.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caldas. As it relates to the 17 costs for discipline, wherein the pharmacy, you and the pharmacy were found to have engaged in sterile compounding activities without actually having an LSC, or a sterile compounding license, in that you and the pharmacy indicated that since the pharmacy is a JCO accredited pharmacy, you believe that the pharmacy was allowed to engage in sterile compounding activities. Can you please tell us about this issue?
Sure. Let me give a short story, hoping I will not bore you. Back in 1995, when I purchased our Rexall drug, and I transferred the pharmacy from a regular retail pharmacy to have like an IV. So basically, we started doing a sterile compounding, which at that time, nothing was required by the Board of Pharmacy to have accreditations or licensing or anything else. Moving forward, in 2003, the board started issuing licenses for sterile compounding license. I submitted the application to the Board of Pharmacy asking for the sterile compounding license. I received a call from the licensing division, Ms. Sulin Yi, asking me to withdraw my applications of sterile compounding because we are joint commission. A joint commission is like a accrediting company here in US. They accredit basically healthcare organizations, about 20,000. It's a nonprofit organization. It's like it advocates for the continuous improvement of the quality of care and the standard and the safety of the patient and the orders. So she asked me to withdraw my applications because I have a joint commission accreditation. I was thinking about it, and then later on, I received another follow-up call from Ms. Sulin Yi, asking why I didn't. What did I do? Did I drop the joint commission, or I have to withdraw the applications? So I sent a letter to the Board of Pharmacy to withdraw my application back in 2003. The law changed in 2014, saying even though the pharmacy is accredited, they have to have a sterile compounding license. I submitted the applications on time. I received the Board of Pharmacy inspection, I believe around June, maybe mid-June, somewhere like that. And then it was asking about a master list for the sterile compounding. I submitted that the same day. So basically, the inspection went well with no deficiencies. So back in my mind, I did everything, I submit everything, and I'm just waiting for the applications. I called the Board of Pharmacy asking about the status of the license. I was told the pharmacy is backed up, and they have, I will receive the license as soon as it's issued. Truly, from my end, I mistakenly presumed, but in a good faith, that the license will arrive. And basically, and back in my mind, like in July 30, 2014, midnight, in June 30, 2014, midnight, I was doing sterile compounding. With the July 1, I'm not qualified. So back in my mind, I'm still qualified as long I did not receive any denial from the Board of Pharmacy. So I continue doing that. And truly, it's the same thing. I have the same practice, same kind of clientele, no change in personnel, no change in policy, nothing. Just continue as what I've been doing. I just did it as of July 1 without a license. So it doesn't mean like I just wake up in the morning doing sterile compounding. It meant the law changed on me. I applied the applications, I did the applications and everything possible. But apparently, the denial of the license came a year after it was submitted, after it was inspected. So
Mr. Caldas,
it's an error from my end anyway.
Mr. Caldas, do you have, or did the pharmacy have a lot of patients that depend on the pharmacy's sterile compounding services?
Yes, we are, because the fact is, because of the nature of our clients' skilled nursing facilities and subacute patients, so basically, I would say about 5% of our business is sterile compounding prescriptions. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Caldas. And once you have been notified by the board that you can't continue doing sterile compounding without having received your LSC license, what did you do?
Yeah, actually, yes, I stopped because I presumed I would never get the license because it took so long. And actually, before even the board inspector came to the pharmacy, maybe about a few weeks before the board inspector came back in 2014, we choose to get a contract with the close by pharmacy to do the sterile compounding, because it seems like it's not a backlogged or something else or pending. It seems like more than that. So we did see the sterile compounding at the time, and
So you
because
stopped the operations.
we started doing the contract with other pharmacies.
Thank you, Mr. Caldas. So moving to the 18th cause for discipline, regarding the pharmacy technician that was working in the pharmacy that had an expired license, can you please tell us something about this issue?
Yeah, the expired license truly is an overlook from the pharmacy technicians herself, which she was cited for that, and from my person, which I hired for the HR to oversee this particular licenses and all the documents, and of course myself, because I'm the PIC. I own it. If there is a problem happen there, it's my problem. So basically, as soon as I found out the license was expired, delinquent, next morning I sent her to Sacramento. I got her a round trip airfare ticket. She went to Sacramento. She got the renewal, and she came back the same day. And from there, it's a lesson and an error, and it's a simple error, but truly caused so much problems. With the help of my IT, we create a spreadsheet with the expiration date with the license number. So basically, if the license will show expiring it's soon, a month or two, it will be flagged to us, to the HR and myself. So go to this person, I need your license, otherwise you will not be working. But again, it's an overlook to my end, and I had no intention to have somebody with expired license to work in a pharmacy.
Thank you, Mr. Caldas. For the 19th cause for discipline, wherein you or the pharmacy have been found to be lacking the required compounding competencies records for 6 of your employees, and one of them particularly was working with sterile compounding drugs.
What happened is the main problem here, what happened with the record keepings. The pharmacy, we have about, between pharmacists and technicians, close to maybe 80 people. And the fact is, the record keeping, we used to keep the competence in one area, and the license in another area, and so on. So it was there. And at the time of the hearing, I told my counsel we should submit that. He said, it's okay. It's just not much, because other documentations are there anyway. But again, I learned this particular problems. I know there is a problem. So from there, I created a system to have everything concern every particular employee, pharmacists, technicians, even clerks, all in one area. So basically, we don't move from one section to the other. You open the folder, you have everything in it.
Thank you, Mr. Caldas. And with regards to the other causes for discipline that were otherwise dismissed, or the court ruled that there's not enough evidence on record to substantiate the allegations, did you still do anything differently in light of the information that was provided to you, particularly with the first one, the first cause for discipline, wherein the pharmacy allegedly, you or the pharmacy allegedly failed to have the e-kits, emergency kits, and the medications contained in those containers to be checked by a pharmacist before being sent to licensed facilities?
Yeah, actually, in general, back in 2011, we reassessed our policy for the operation and the work in the pharmacy and the workflow, and we reassessed everything And even though it was not established as an accusation, but I changed the policy, making the pharmacist to check every item in the e-kit, initial every item by hand, and put the seal on the e-kit before it's sealed. Because before that, the technician used to check it and seal it, and the pharmacist check to overseal it from the top of it. But the change in the policy and the procedure, the pharmacist is the one to initial all the medications and to seal the e-kit. So this will just will go away by itself.
For the second cause for discipline, Mr. Caldas, wherein there's allegation of violations of improper disclosures of protected health information as they relate to the medications that were found, I believe it was in the upstairs room of the pharmacy. What did you and or the pharmacy do to address those?
So even though this has been hasn't been substantiated, but again, any PHI all along, from before the start of the HIPAA regulations, no PHI be disclosed to like outside of the pharmacies, just like that. We protect all the patient informations. We protect everything. We never let anything goes away. This particular instance, the PHI was on the upstairs far from the sending to for the destruction to the Genco or the destruction company. At that time, I check everything. Till now, I check everything. So, but it just happened, and the box was sealed. The board pharmacy inspector thought once it's sealed, it should be out. No, the technician sealed the box. I opened the seal, review it, and seal it back. When I seal it back, I initial that sealing. So to make sure I check it, doesn't fly away out of the store without checking.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caldas. With regards to the fifth and sixth cause for discipline in relation to drug quality and having adulterated drugs in the pharmacy, what were the things that you did to correct or to address these issues?
See, the fact of because of the overfilled prescriptions, this particular one, they're talking about overfilled. It was, I believe, 3 bottles was overfilled, and the one we talk about before, that the 3 labels. Maybe that's it. We had the rate of mandate, and the Superior Court found is like a prejudicial abuse of the discretion of the ALJ, because the fact is it was not supported by the documents provided by the board, because on the pharmacy, the 3 prescriptions, the mislabels, I admit it was wrong, and then the overfilled pills, because the fact is if the technician made an error, the filling pharmacist, what used to do is just if it's a same lot number, same expiration date, they put the medication back in the original bottle so the next technician can use it. We change this particular policy. If there is error happen, we cross this error and we write that kind of error and we keep it as is. So medications will never go back to the original container. This will, it happened, we changed the policy years ago, around 2011. So this particular overfilled bottles it didn't happen after that, and it's not going to happen again.
Thank you for your explanation, Mr. Caldas. In regards to the 12th cause for discipline for allegedly accepting controlled substances as well as non-controlled substances drug inventories from nursing facilities, can you please tell us about this cause for discipline?
The pharmacy, we used to receive non-control for destruction, but the pharmacy never received control medication for distractions. And it never been, it was just an accusation, but never happened. We never received any control medications. The control medications found in the upstairs room, these are control medications expired in the pharmacy. And we choose to keep the medications in the separate room upstairs, quarantined from the active medications. But going back on the medications, going back for distractions, because the fact is we were accused of storing medications under like a temperature was not correct and the environment was not correct. So basically, the law does not differentiate between active inventory, good inventory going to patients, and medications going to distractions. And even though during the RET, between the ALJ and the RET, both agree in one thing. The law does not differentiate between two things, active inventory and inventory going for distraction. So basically, what we changed at that time is, even though we have insulin, expired insulin, going for distraction, I put a refrigerator on the distraction room, and I put this expired insulin in the refrigerator. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's a law. I go with the law.
And Mr. Caldas, regarding the acceptance of return for non-controlled substances from nursing facilities, did you accept back any returns from any other pharmacies?
No, we have not. We accept only medications dispensed from our pharmacy to the nursing homes. Anything come from other pharmacies, we don't accept it back. We just take our own medications back for distraction. And that practice even stopped.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caldas. For the 13th and 14th causes for discipline, wherein you and the pharmacy, this relate to also the controlled substances that were allegedly found in the pharmacy. Can you tell us, or can you reiterate what was the policy of the pharmacy when it comes to before the prior policy of the pharmacy when accepting controlled substances, if any, from any of the nursing facilities?
Again, pharmacy does not accept medication, controlled substance medications from the nursing home. We only accept medications delivered from the pharmacy to the nursing home. We take it back for distractions. And for the record, it was in the inspector notes. Pharmacy sent around 40,000 pages of documents to return to the reverse distributor. 40,000 talking about a truckload. So basically, the accusation itself, I don't have record. I do have records, and it was proven in court. It's like a truckload of documents was sent to the reverse distributor, and this document is copied to the Board of Pharmacy inspector.
And are these the same information that are related to the 20th cause for discipline, wherein specifically the board alleged that the pharmacy accepted controlled substance drugs from nursing facilities?
Yeah, it's a repeat. The idea is I have 21 accusations, and if you summarize it, maybe 3 or 4, but it seems like it repeats itself over and over.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Caldas. With regards to your training, how many, or did you undergo, or did you regularly do any type of training as a pharmacist?
I do a lot of training all the time. I like to read. I like to be trained over and over, even though like my CEs submitted to the board for the early termination, petition for early termination. It was like over 100 hours. And from the period of like the last 6 or 8 months, I finished another maybe 44 hours, somewhere like that. So I got so much training.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caldas. Thank you. Are you currently employed?
Yes, I am. I work at our Western Pharmacy.
And what's your position there?
I'm a pharmacist, staff pharmacist, and also I go to the facilities, nursing home facility, because I serve as a quality assurance and the utilization review committee as a member there with the skilled nursing facility. I attend the QA meetings quarterly, the quality, and also with the facility, I review what's called the CASPA report, certifications and survey provider enhanced reporting system. I'm helping the skilled nursing facilities to comply with the local and state and federal regulations. I review the discharge patients. We review the 911 calls because some of these calls could be answered in the facility. So we don't have, the facility does not have to send the patient back and forth to the acute hospitals. And the readmission, because the readmission is a big problem with the skilled nursing facility. So any readmit within 30 days, we check myself with the medical director and the many physicians, attending physicians, along with the director of nursing, administrator, and all the disciplines, including physical therapists, occupational therapists, and all that. Also, I'm a member with the antibiotic stewardship program to oversee the use, like underuse and overuse of the antibiotic and the recommendations. Also, we look at the patient isolations and the social services. We analyze the data. We analyze antibiogram to see the specific antibiotic susceptible for this particular facilities. And also we draft with a couple of the facilities the Linguella infection control manual for the parasite found in water coming to the facility. I'm a part of the safety committee of the facilities. I go to the nursing homes every quarter or every month for some facility needing some help during the survey time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caldas. Are you a member or part of any professional organizations?
Yeah, I'm a member with CPA, the California Pharmacy Association.
CPHA. All right, thank you.
Right.
In regards to your community involvement, charitable works, can you please tell us something about what have you done to benefit your community?
Actually, since I came to US back in 1983, I was not born here, I was born in Egypt. Part of my commitment is to help others because I got a lot of help from other people. They never met me before. We purchased a building back in 2005, and we provide that building to the K-9 training for the police department and for the SWAT teams. Also, we help what's so-called Piping for Egypt. That's for the, as a charity. We have been providing actually, donating the PPEs, personal protective equipment, to the CHP, and also provide to the police department. And we have the monetary. I have myself the monetary contribution to St. Coptic Church. I participated so much in uplifting in the youth for St. John Church. We donated supplies to the Lion Clubs, to the neighbors, to the families. Even though I donated one of my cars and a motorcycle to the Wheat Seed Warriors Ministries and kitchen supplies. We do a lot of things. I do a lot of things myself, along with my business.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caldas. And did you submit letters of recommendation to the Board of Pharmacy?
Yes, I have.
How many were they?
14 letters in total.
And all the writers, the authors of those letters, were they informed about your probation and the purpose of those letters as they relate to your petition?
I told all of them, but I noticed some of the letter came back. It does not have the like I read the accusations and asking for early terminations and under penalty of perjury. I found maybe about, if I'm not mistaken, 3 out of 14, they missed this particular area of the letter. But they are the author of the letters, yes.
And do you know why they will probably not say that they know or they didn't know anything about that?
Actually, I just noticed this morning when I was looking at the letters. I did not notice that at the time I received the letter from them.
But for those that confirm, they wrote those letters in spite of having knowledge of your probation and your current petition, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
I was saying those that were confirmed and acknowledged that having information about your probation and your current petition right now, they wrote those letters in spite of having those information, correct?
Right, yes, yes.
So, Mr. Caldas, I'm going to ask you, why have you come before the Board of Pharmacy now to petition for an early termination of your license?
Actually, as my work in the nursing home facilities, the profession has a big toll on my life and my work. So basically, I am seeking to get advanced practice pharmacist. As you know, the advanced pharmacy practicing require a pharmacy in good standing and not in probation. As a pharmacist, yes, I can review patient chart, I can read the lab, I can do a lot of things. But as an extra license, this will help me. Once I see a problem, I can truly with the protocol with the primary physicians, I can request a lab, I can discontinue medications, I can start new medications, I can change dosage, I can do a lot of things allowed by the law. Without this license, my hands are tied. I cannot do it. I have to call the physician, get the order, and then start the order. This might delay the care of the patient. And truly, it will help a lot to provide the best care to the patients.
Thank you so much, Mr. Caldas. And with regards to preparation in becoming an APP, in the event that the Board of Pharmacy grants your petition, have you made the necessary preparation, training, all those certifications? Do you have it ready?
Yes, I have it. Actually, I have it on my computer. I can send it to you and to the board. I finished all the training. I finished all the hours. I have the protocol. So basically, I have everything. As soon the board allow me, or the board reinstate my license as a fully licensed in good standing, I will apply for the license to get the advanced practice pharmacist.
And Mr. Caldas, based on everything that you have testified to, do you think that there's anything that the board should worry about in regards to releasing you from your probation?
I don't think I caused any harm, any patient harm during all these accusations and all my problems that happened to me. The problem is basic, a lot of time is like, or I would say all of it is administrative problems, record keeping, acting in good faith. But patient care to me is the ultimate thing. Since I got my license, even before I have been licensed, I care about people. I care about patients. Two of my aunts used to be these nursing facilities. One of my cousins, one of these nursing facilities. I treat every patient like a family. Everyone is like very close to me as a friend, as a family. So basically, I like to have the license in a way to provide the best care to our clients and patients.
And is there anything else that you would want to add that you would like the board to consider?
I hope the board will consider the early termination, and I apologize for any mishap happened from my end or misunderstanding of the laws. I learned a lot about these laws. Maybe I became expert in it after so many years, since 2011 till today, almost 10 years. And I keep myself updated very well. So I hope the board will grant it.
Thank you, Mr. Caldas. Your Honor, we rest.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pian, do you have questions?
I actually do not have any questions for this petitioner, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Then we'll open it up to the board, and I will again go in reverse order. So starting with Member Veal, any questions?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Caldas, thank you for your very thorough testimony here and coming before the board. I really don't have any questions. I think you adequately answered everything I could possibly think of.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Member Wise, any questions?
None at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Member Sanchez, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Member Butler, any questions?
No, I have no questions. Everything was answered. Thank you.
Okay. Vice President Serpa, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor, I have a few questions.
Okay.
Mr. Caldas, just some clarifications, because I was reading your record and I may have confused myself, so I wanted to make sure that I have the information correct. So this is just for clarification. Because you were, your discipline case was involved with other pharmacists and the pharmacy also, so I wasn't sure if the issue regarding the wholesaler was a cause of action against you also, or is that not pertinent to your case?
This was this issue happened back in 1999. It was I have a business partner and myself.
So that's not part of this case. That was just part of the historical record?
Historical record, yes.
Okay, thank you. The other question I had was about what you said, your current work. It sounds like you have a very dynamic and independent practice while on probation. Is that correct? That you're, was that correct?
No, it's not independent. It's part of the pharmacy because I work at Owl Western Pharmacy. Owl Western Pharmacy servicing skilled nursing facilities, board and care, and subacute and others. So basically, I'm a W-2 employee.
I'm sorry, what was the last statement? You're a what?
I'm a W-2 employee.
So as an employee, you go to these nursing homes and patient care locations alone, or do you have a supervisor with you?
No, either alone or my supervisor or one of the nurses.
Because I was a little interested in your role in the different committees and the work that you're doing. As you know, antibiotic stewardship, and it sounds like, you know, QA and those kinds of things. Would you term your role as a consultant, or what is your role there at the sites away from the pharmacy proper?
A clinical pharmacist.
Okay, because I'm not clear on the conditions of probation, and that's why I'm asking the question, because I'm really kind of not sure about the legal parts of it. But there's a statement in here that says it no preceptorships and supervision of interns, being pharmacists in charge, or serving as a consultant. So that's correct and is not applicable in your case?
I'm not a consultant at the pharmacy. I do as a committee member as a clinical pharmacist.
Okay, thank you.
And I do preceptor interns also.
Yeah, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And President O, if you have any questions.
Thank you, and I have no further questions.
Okay. Then let's see. Mr. Vizcocho, do you have any redirect questions you'd like to ask in response to the prior questions?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any further evidence to present?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, then we'll close it up with closing argument. Mr. Pian, do you have any final comments or recommendations to make?
Yes, Your Honor. Just one thing I forgot to mention in my opening, actually, just for the board's information, that the Mr. Caldas' probation monitor has advised that he's been fully compliant with all probation terms to date, and he has fully paid the costs that were ordered in the underlying decision. Otherwise, I have nothing more in closing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Give me a moment. Okay, Mr. Vizcocho, your closing remarks.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the board. I would just like to, and we'll be very short, I'd just like to summarize Mr. Caldas' testimony in saying that Mr. Caldas has fully corrected and remediated his errors. He has complied with all the conditions of his probation. He has strong community involvement and enjoys a reputation of being an honest, good, and excellent pharmacist. And he would like to further immerse himself in the profession of pharmacy and dedicate himself to his patients by being an advanced practice pharmacist. And Mr. Caldas is asking the board to help him better serve his patients by terminating his probation early so he can proceed with his application and become an APP, advanced practice.
Is submitted and the hearing is concluded, and we will go off the record.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and President O, I believe those are the 4 matters before the board, so it's back to you.
That's correct. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, members. So I'd like to thank members of the public who observed or participated in the meeting today. Members will now proceed to closed session. As indicated on the agenda, the board will convene in closed session to deliberate on disciplinary and other matters. As indicated on the agenda, members will reconvene in open session to adjourn the meeting in open session. That portion of the meeting, however, will not be broadcast due to technological limitations. No board businesses will be conducted. Thank you all for participating today. We'll be terminating the WebEx now to allow members to convene in closed session. Members, we'll give about 10-minute break so that the staff can get ready for our closed session.
Can we start at 3 o'clock straight up?
Right. We'll
Coming back on video only?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, I think.
Well, I mean, it's that way we could do it off of our phone. Okay.
Yeah.
And what time? Give me a time.
3 o'clock.